Welcome, everyone, to Workday 101 for HR Ask the Experts. Our topic today is performance evaluations. I'm Nikki Sitton. I'm an HR technology change management specialist, and our subject matter experts today are Maureen Siders and Julie Kennedy. Maureen is manager of organizational development and learning, and Julie Kennedy is a Workday HCM consultant. So, thank you so much for being with us today, Maureen and Julie.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Glad
Glad
to
to
have
be
you.
here as well. Thanks for the applause.
Yeah.
The pressure's on now.
Today's agenda, we're going to go over why you should complete performance evaluations, go through the performance process, talk about setting goals in Workday, look at other performance tools in Workday, address some frequently asked questions since we are eliminating that Q&A section, and then jump into some demonstrations. So I will go ahead and hand this over to Maureen. Maureen, why should I complete performance evaluations?
Thank you so much, Nikki. It is performance evaluations, or really anytime we talk to our employees about performance. It's a great opportunity to provide continuous feedback to your employee. So in that conversation, you can set expectations for your employees, suggest options or opportunities for improvement. You can recognize achievements, identify opportunities, maybe some career paths for the employees, or maybe just some things that the employees could be doing better, or some things that the employees have done really well. So it's the opportunities are so sort of really limitless, because we really don't oftentimes have opportunities for just really good conversations with our employees. So I think we don't talk to our employees often enough. So great opportunities to really just stop and talk to our employees about how they're doing. And it's a two-way street. So the opportunities are then open for your employees to have open and honest conversations about how they think they're doing, and things that they might like to do better, differently, where they think that they'd like to see their career go here at SSM Health, things that they'd like for you to open up for them, career paths that they'd like to see opened up, and maybe some questions that they have about opportunities that they might see for themselves here.
Awesome. All right. So, Maureen, can you walk us through the process for the 2021 performance evaluations?
Absolutely. So what you see here on your screen is the infograph of how performance is this year. So the process started with our employees and them completing their self-assessments. And through automation, then we move the forms forward to the next steps for managers. So that process started with the managers having the opportunity to select an additional reviewer, and then it moved to the manager completing the manager review. And right now, then evaluations are sitting in the deliver results step, and this is where managers sit down with the employees and actually have that conversation. So this is where we're focused mostly currently, but we really want to focus most of our efforts in the performance conversation is really having that good conversation. And then automation will then move all of those forms forward if you haven't completed them already on the 18th to the employees for acknowledgement. And that will complete the process. And employees have through the 31st of March to complete the acknowledgements, and that completes the process.
Okay. And so, what are some other tools we can use to manage performance in Workday?
That's an awesome question. So we started back at the beginning of the year with goal setting. And so we all got a task in Workday to start the process off at the beginning of the year, setting goals. But this isn't really a process that we should just think of as something that happens in the first quarter of the year. So you can return to your talent and performance app all throughout the year and revisit your goals. So you could go in there and go into your talent and performance app and record that you've completed your goal. Or you could record in there, go back into that section where you have some ability to make some updates to your goal, and you might record some milestones. So if it's a goal that you have for the whole year, maybe you go in there and say, I've accomplished this part of the goal, or I've maybe the goal has changed throughout the course of the year. So maybe this is a goal that you're not even going to complete. So you can make that update. So this shouldn't be a static thing. It should be something that you can kind of have an open dialogue and a place that you can kind of record that information. I'm sure that there's probably a limit to that text box, but we've not seen anybody reach it yet. So you can kind of continue to make updates to your goals there in that talent and performance app, changing your goals throughout the year. And then when it comes time to do performance evaluations at the end of the year, all of that information is transferred over to your performance evaluation. So all of that goal information is captured onto your performance evaluation. Secondly, there's the ability to get feedback from your peers. So we can use the get feedback process, and we'll demo that for you later. There's the ability to get feedback from your peers. So currently our nursing team uses this for the peer feedback process, but really anybody in the organization can go to the get feedback section of Workday and ask for feedback from their peers. So you can type in a custom question. Perhaps maybe you've sat on a team with somebody, or you've worked on a project with somebody, or maybe they're just another person on your team and you'd like to ask them how it has been to work with them, or how how it's been to work on a team with them, or maybe if you led a team with them, what that experience has been like. So you can create a custom question and ask a good open-ended question so that that person has something to react to. And then they get a task in Workday to respond with some feedback. And then that appears in your profile in Workday, and it's available to both you and your manager. And lastly, the check-in process. This is something that's currently in development and should be available shortly. And this is a kind of an open-ended conversation that's able to be documented in Workday, can be created by both an employee and a manager. And this is just a place to document a good performance conversation in Workday. So it's not a corrective action. This would be ideal for a 30, 60, 90 conversation, or a mid-year performance check-in, or just a general conversation about performance. Maybe you had a great performance milestone and something you want to document in Workday. So this is just a general place to document that performance conversation, and that's coming soon in Workday.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Maureen. So since we've eliminated the live Q&A, we'd like to address some frequently asked questions around the topics of performance evaluations and goals. So our first frequently asked question is, how do I know if a performance evaluation is optional versus required?
Great question. So in an effort to reduce administrative burden this year, we have made performance evaluations optional in most of our ministries. So performance evaluations are only required where it's required due to regulatory or compensation reasons. So that's mostly at Dean and post-acute. So to help you determine if you need to complete an evaluation, we've added the word optional or required right in the title of the performance evaluation. And you can see that in the screen grab here. It's kind of circled there. At the end of the title, it says either optional or required right there at the end of the title. So if you have any question about whether or not your evaluation is optional or required, look right to the title. If it's required, you obviously have to do your evaluation. If it's optional, you reach out to your management team and say, should I even be doing this evaluation, or is it something that I don't even have to do?
All right. Seems simple enough. And so this kind of a piggyback question is, why is this optional performance evaluation in my inbox if it's not required?
Absolutely. So in order to allow performance evaluations to be completed by all of our team members who wanted to complete them, we had to launch them for everybody. So everybody got a performance evaluation back at the beginning of the year. So what you see now is the automation process moving the evaluations through all the steps in the process. So we didn't want them to just sit in people's inbox forever. So our automation process is moving them through all the steps of the process on the given due dates. So all evaluations will be moved out of everybody's inbox by 3/31. So you won't see any evaluations lingering in inboxes after that. And unfortunately, there's no way to delete them. So we can't go out there and delete them for everybody if you've decided not to complete an evaluation. So they'll all be out of there by 3/31 though.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. So, next question is, how do I check where the evaluation is in the process?
I think this is super important if you are a manager and you're trying to be on top of the process. So if you are a manager and you go to your team performance app, over on the right side, you'll see a report that's called My Team's Performance Reviews. And if you click on that, it's going to give you a visual display, and you see that on the screen here. And it's going to give you a display of where all of your evaluations are in the process. And so you'll see two things. You'll see an employee's goal, their goal step of the process, and you'll see their evaluation. So you'll actually see their name listed twice. And so you're going to see that all visually displayed. So you'll see an employee's name twice, once for their goals, once for their performance evaluation, and you'll see where they are in the step of the process for their performance evaluation.
All right. Wonderful. Okay. And so our next frequently asked question is, how do I send an evaluation back?
So from that same report, from that My Team's Performance Evaluations, you're going to see in that same visual display over further on the right, you're going to see a send back button next to the person's performance evaluation link. So if you see that send back button, you have the ability to send the evaluation back one step in the process. So if the performance evaluation is in the deliver results step, you can send the evaluation back one step in the process. So right now, all of our evaluations are in the deliver results step based on our automation. So if you missed the opportunity to complete the evaluation in the manager review step and it's now in the deliver results step, you actually have the ability to send the evaluation back to yourself right now. So if you click that send back button, the evaluation is going to go back one step in the process, moving it back to the manager review step. And then you'd actually have the ability to open the evaluation from that step. You'll have to make a comment when you send that back. So it's going to ask you for a comment. You can just say moving it back so that I can, or you just say, moving it back so I can edit the evaluation. Similarly, if you wanted to move the evaluation back all the way to your employee, you'd click the button a second time. So you'd need to click the button twice in order to get it back to your employee. So let's say your employee didn't do their self-evaluation and you wanted to get their feedback before completing the manager review, you'd click that button twice and it would get the evaluation back to your employee.
All right. And what is an additional reviewer? Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So it is not a peer feedback, so this is not for peers. So if you have gotten the request for an additional reviewer, and that's what you see here in the screen grab, this is not a peer. So if you have gotten that request and this person is your peer, you shouldn't be completing this request. So this should be somebody requesting feedback for you who is you were a manager of that person or had a relationship that was like a manager relationship. So this would be, somebody who you supervised at some point in time during the year. Perhaps that person left your team, but you managed them at some point in time during 2021. Or perhaps maybe you were on a project team with them and you had a management type relationship, maybe a dotted line relationship with them. And so someone has requested feedback from you in a management type role. And so that is the purpose of the additional reviewer process. And you would just, if you opened that request, you would just be able to be providing comments only. You wouldn't be providing ratings to this person's performance evaluation. But it's pretty transparent. So you're seeing, other people's feedback in that step. And so it's a pretty transparent process, and your comments are going to be appearing on their performance evaluation. So it's important that you are, in a management type relationship with that person if you're providing feedback at this level.
Okay. All right. And what if I'd like to edit my 2021 goals? Are we still able to do that?
It is too late to do that at this point. So when we opened the 2021 performance evaluation process, that closed the goals for 2021. So the only way at this point in time you can edit your goals for 2021 is through the evaluation process. So you can certainly go into your self-evaluation, or your manager can go into your evaluation and edit your goals there, but that's the only place you can edit your goals at this time. But not to worry, at the end of the evaluation process, we'll go in and archive all of those goals for 2021, so you won't see them on your primary goals page anymore. So if you've got some goals that were unupdated hanging out there, those won't appear on your primary goals page. After the performance cycle closes, we'll archive those goals and they won't appear there any longer.
Okay. All right. And there are some goals that should appear on the plan for each of my employees. Is there an easy way to share a goal with my entire team, or do I have to go in individually for each person?
There is a very easy way. So if you are a manager, from your team performance app, if you choose the Add Goals to Employees link, this dialog box is going to appear, and it's going to walk you through whether you want to copy one of your own goals or create a goal from scratch. And then it's going to allow you to pick which employee you want to assign the goal to. So you can assign the goals to the whole team, and you can then select all of those people, or you can select just some of the people on your team. So for instance, if you have both nurses and care partners on your team, maybe you would just want to select just the nurses on your team to get the goals. But maybe another goal, you might want to select all of the people on your team. So you could select then all of those folks to get your goals. So it's a really helpful and powerful tool that would allow you to share goals with all or some of the team members on your team.
Nice. I always love a good time saving tip. So that is great. Thanks for sharing that with us. So that is the last frequently asked question that we're going to address right now. I'll go ahead and hand the screen over to you, Maureen, and we will go through demonstrations for setting up a performance evaluation and showing us the feedback feature as well.
Great. I am logged in as a manager, and so you see my main screen, and I am going to go to my inbox, where I am going to find a manager evaluation. So I often recommend to use the guided editor. I think that's the easiest way to complete an employee's performance evaluation. So the guided editor takes you through a page at a time, and I think it's a little easier to view the evaluation in that way. So the first page we see is the goals page, and this employee's goals have, our goal has pulled over from the goal system, and so you'll see the employee has rated themselves over on the right here, and they've given themselves a meets expectation, and the description of the rating has been populated right below that. And in order for you to provide your rating, all you have to do is just click the pencil icon, and it opens up all of the ability to edit this goal. So you can change anything in the goal here in these boxes here. So you could change the status of the goal if you wanted to, although the employee appears to already have updated the status, which is great. And then you see here the manager's rating. So you just click the dial or the drop-down menu here and choose your rating. The best practice here is, if you're rating something other than a meets expectation, is to provide a comment, but a comment isn't required. And you'll notice when we chose the rating that the description of that rating populated below. So if you ever have a question about, well, I'm not really sure whether I want to choose meets expectation or it exceeds expectation, I could use some help on how to select that. If you choose the other option, you'll see that the definition of that rating populates right below when you select the item. So when I chose exceeds expectation, the definition populated right below. So that can kind of help you decide how you want to rate that employee. So for now, we'll choose meets expectation because I feel that's, where I should rate this employee on this goal. And then we'll choose next. And that's going to take us to the next page of the performance evaluation, which are the values in action. And this year we have condensed those down into just one rating. When we look statistically at how people rated values in action, we found that they really often rated those things the same. So there was very little differentiation between how people rated one value to another. So we condensed these just into one rating to make this simpler. So again, we see the employees rating over here on the right. And they didn't make a comment here. So they rated themselves as an exceed, and they were a really great employee here. And since they rated themselves as an exceed, they gave themselves a comment here to explain why they were rating themselves as an exceed. If all employees just did that. So we click on the pencil icon, and then we're able to make a rating for this employee. And since they did a great job of explaining why they exceeded expectations, we'll agree with them there. And we can make a comment here as well. And then we'll click next. And the last page of content here we see is the job responsibilities. And this is pulling directly from the employee's job profile. So these are those dot points that are listed in the employee's job profile that are what the employee's job responsibilities are. And so we can review those. We see the employee's rating over here on the right again, and clicking the pencil icon, we're able to rate the employee's job responsibilities. And we can make a comment if we wish, but we've rated the employees meets expectation. No comment is really required here. We click next. And then the last thing that we see is the overall rating, which the employee doesn't make an overall rating. This is a manager only field. So we click the pencil icon. We think about, how we've rated the employee on those other items, and then we're able to choose whatever rating we feel is appropriate for the employee's performance for the year. And then the comment is required here. So we'll make a quick comment here. And then we click next. And then the last thing that we see is the summary of everything that we've rated and all the comments that we've made. And if we decided that we wanted to change something, or we see a spelling error or anything that we see as we review everything, we could click the pencil icon again and change something if we wanted to. But if we're satisfied with what we see, we click submit. We see a banner at the top that says that we're successful, and it says the next step is for us again. So we're up again at the deliver results step, and you'll see that there's a refresh button over here. So you could do either thing, but if we click this to do step, we'll see that the deliver results step is ours. We can click this button here to view the employee evaluation. Here we could bring up the evaluation if we were going to meet with somebody virtually, or we could print the evaluation. And there are some steps here on how to print the evaluation. Once we've met with the employee, we click the submit button, and that sends the evaluation to the employee so that they have the employee evaluation to acknowledge in their inbox. And that is completing the employee evaluation. Now I'm going to demo for you how to update your goals. So I am now logged in as myself. And from here, I'm going to go to the Talent and Performance app. And I am going to update a goal. So I've already got a couple of goals entered. I'm going to go to my individual goals. And I'm just going to say, so on this first goal, I had entered a goal to, oh, it's spelled terribly. I didn't notice that I had terrible spelling errors in here. Well, we're going to skip the spelling errors. And I am going to say, let's say I have conducted this I'm spelling terribly again. Well, we'll come back and fix the spelling errors later. I had this focus group. So I'm going to say conducted focus group. Oh, I'm a terrible speller.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. So that's the update I'm going to make. So I can, come back later as I make other updates to my goal, and I can, save for later and, come back and make additional updates. So I've now updated that goal. And so that's how I can continue throughout the year to make updates to my goals. One more thing I wanted to show you, and that is the get feedback process. So I can get feedback on myself. And here is the get feedback process. So the first step in the get feedback process, there's some nice help text here that tells you what you want to do, but it's a really simple process. So the first step in the process is to select who do you want to get feedback on, and there are some suggestions here of who you might like to select, but you can select anybody in the organization. But I work really frequently with Julie Kennedy, so I'm going to ask Julie Kennedy if I can spell her name correctly today. Here's Julie Kennedy. I'm going to ask Julie Kennedy for some feedback. And there is a feedback template that we have in the system, but we're going to skip that because it's really you'll see that the feedback template that we have here is a nursing peer feedback template. I'm not a nurse, so I'm not going to use that nursing peer feedback template. But instead, I'm just going to ask a custom question, and I'm going to ask Julie, how has it been to work with me on the performance service line, whatever we call it, performance, we'll call it service line today because I'm not sure what I should call it, but and then that's a nice open-ended question. Julie can provide me some nice open-ended feedback on that space, and all I have to do, that's probably not a really good question, but you get the point. So I click submit, and it tells me that that has been submitted to Julie. When Julie goes to her inbox, she has that question. She does have the ability to decline that question. So if she's like, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, I don't want to give that person feedback, she doesn't have to provide that feedback to me. She can decline it. That way it's out of her inbox, and she doesn't have to provide that feedback to me. But when she does provide that feedback to me, it would appear in my my profile here under feedback. I don't have any feedback here now because she hasn't provided the feedback, but it would be, you see here, I've asked for feedback here. So this is where I've asked for feedback, but once she provides the feedback to me, it would be here under feedback received. And the only other person who can see this feedback is my manager. So my manager can go here and see the feedback that I have received. And if it's great feedback and would be substantive to my performance evaluation, my manager could certainly copy and paste that into my performance evaluation in the future. Okay, that is the end of my demo.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for that demonstration. It seems like there's nobody that has any questions for us, so we will give you your extra 15 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day, everyone.